Hey everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to everybody. Everyone loves saxophones today. We're with the one and only Mindi Abair. She's our first saxophone player. She's going to go gentle on me, and what a great sax player she is, and just she's like a great entrepreneur. She's totally driven. She's got a bunch of stuff going on that I'm really excited to talk about. A couple of quick announcements. I want to thank our mutual friend, Derek Frank. Derek, thank you very much for connecting us. And make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com/subscribe to subscribe to the show. If you're checking us out on YouTube now, hit the subscribe button and the bell. Thank you. All right. Mindi Abair, let me tell you a little bit about her background if you're not familiar with her music. And if you're not familiar with her music, you definitely should be. It's Mindi with an I, by the way. Mindi Abair is a highly accomplished alto, tenor, baritone, and soprano saxophonist. She's also a great singer with a very powerful voice. I was going to say, like, you have a sultry voice, but you don't know me. I didn't want to say this guy's calling me sultry, but your voice is like very sultry, man. It's like, I didn't want to be like, oh no, this interview pervert. But no, you have I'll really
take sultry. Sultry's cool.
Yeah, that's it. Your voice was awesome. I was like blown away. Keyboard player and percussionist. She was the featured saxophonist on 2 seasons of American Idol and the first solo saxophonist touring with Aerosmith since 1973 when she was 5. Or 3. She has released 9 studio, 1 live, and 2 Christmas albums. She has 12 #1 radio hits in the jazz and blues world, 2 #1 spots on the Billboard Contemporary Jazz Album Chart, and 2 #3 spots on the Billboard Blues Album Chart. In 2018, her band, Mindi, along with her band, great band, the Bone Shakers, they won 8 independent blues awards, including Artist of the Year, and Best Blues Song Fan Award for the Independent Music Awards for Pretty Good for a Girl. In 2019, she was nominated by the Blues Music Awards as the Best Instrumentalist Horn and won the LA Critics Award for Best Holiday Album for All I Got for Christmas is the Blues. Now, check this out. That's just music. Now we're going to have the rest of Mindi Abair. She's the author of How to Play Madison Square Garden, a guide to stage performance. She created a really cool website called prettygoodforagirl.net to celebrate women, and she served almost 10 years as an LA chapter governor, president, and national trustee for the Recording Academy, which we'll talk about. But wait, there's more. She also owns Reserve Tastings Wine Company, which brings together the worlds of wine and music. Very important. Take note of this, especially during this coronavirus downtime. You probably need this. Through members-only exclusive wines paired with personally curated music playlists, label art, and branded wine and music festivals. So in a nutshell, she's going to get you a good buzz with a good quality wine. Mindi's toured. She's toured and recorded again with Aerosmith, Joe Bonamassa, Smokey Robinson, Joe Perry, Trombone Shorty, Booker T. Jones, Gregg Allman, Kenny Wayne Shepherd, Jim Peterik, who we had on the show. That guy is, talk about a dynamo, man. That guy is full of energy. Bobby Rush, Keb Mo, Mandy Moore, Lee Ritenour, Adam Sandler, Duran Duran, Bill Champlin, who we had on the show, another lovely guy, Max Weinberg, Dave Koz, Layla Hathaway, the Backstreet Boys, and loads of other. And then she had a solo career doing all this other stuff where she won all those awards. So we're gonna find. You know what? I'm just thinking you should come out with like energy pills. Because these people that advertise shit but they don't do it. Like, you ever go to the gym, you see a trainer, he's like 300 pounds, and you're like, how does somebody pay that dude for fitness, right? But you you've actually boom these work. He also sat in with Paul Schaefer on David Letterman's Late Show and The Roots, that must have been cool, on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. And she's been nominated for 2 Grammys. But still more, she also hosted a nationally syndicated radio show for 9 years called Chill with Mindi Abair. But you're not doing any chilling like with this schedule.
You know what? I'm chilling by my fire pit today. So and I got a wine and music company. That is chill. So that's, I'm not doing it on radio anymore, but that's what I'm doing.
Right on. Good for you. Hey, thank you so much for your time. I'm so glad you came on the show. And you are like terrific, man. I really am like totally stoked that, you've done all these things. So
I'm bringing you everywhere just to do the intro. I mean, come to every, show, every Zoom meeting, because there are no shows right now. That was awesome. I'm just sitting back like, all right. That sounds like a life. cool.
It is, isn't it? I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, you've done a lot of stuff. Most people don't do this in like one of these things, and you've done all of them. No, seriously, that's what's really cool, you know, and it takes a lot of energy, a lot of motivation, a ton of focus. You got to have your shit together, you know.
Yeah.
It's very deliberate. You don't like luck into this stuff, you know.
No, I think that, you know, I think that if you're going to do something, do it, you know, and I love music. I just wanted to do music, and, you know, it takes something to do music, you know.
Yeah.
People say, how do you get out there and succeed? It's no easy task. There's no rule book necessarily to do that, but along the way, all these things kind of come up, and I wanted to explore them, and, you know, anything having to do with music I wanted to be a part of. So hence the odd and varied resume.
Which is awesome. Honestly. All right. You're from St. Pete. And if you're listening to this, you don't know this. I'm in Tampa, which St. Pete's right across the bay. It's a lot cooler place than Tampa, actually. So you're from St. Pete. You went to Berklee, and then after Berklee, you moved out to LA. I was curious, what prompted that move? And when you first got to LA, what did you do to get work?
You know, I mean, St. Pete is not the mecca of music at all, you know, but my father was a musician. He played sax and keyboards, and my grandmother was an opera singer. So, I mean, I had music all around me, but I definitely knew St. Pete wasn't the place that, you know, was going to kind of see my dreams through. So I went to Berklee College of Music because it was just that school that, I don't know, they let you be anything you wanted to be. I didn't want to be a traditional jazz player. That wasn't where my head was at. And, you know, I knew that a lot of saxophonists kind of, that was the pathway toward, you know, through music school, was to be this traditional jazz saxophone player. I wanted to rock out. You know, I was watching Tina Turner and Aerosmith and the Rolling Stones and, you know, Bruce Springsteen. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I want to do that. I want to sweat for 4 hours and, you know, and connect with people and have a blast playing rock and roll and R&B and soul and blues. And, you know, so I loved that Berklee College of Music would let you play with all these different bands. They had vocal, you know, classes. They had writing classes. So I just went for it. And my sax teacher was so cool there. His name was Joe Viola. And he said to me every week, start your own band. Have you started your own band yet? You got to start your own band. And, you know, here's this little guy who's, you know, like the Yoda of saxophone. Why is he telling me to start my own band? But I realize now, because I took his advice and started my band in college. And he knew that I was different. He knew that I came at it with, you know, a different set of ears and a different mindset than a lot of the people that I was at school with. And he's like, the earlier that you delve into who you are and realize that that's special and that, you know, you can do your own thing and you can start writing your own music, the better. And he was totally right. So I went out to LA and I just thought, you know, I'm going to be a solo artist. I'm going to make records. That was really tough. I realized super early on, you know, I got a job as a waitress because, you know, you can't just walk into LA and take over the music industry. That they've already got every guitar player, every sax player, every keyboard player that they'll ever want, and they're all monsters. Yeah. So you really have to delve in and kind of make your own and find your own and get to know people. So, you know, for me, I just started. I would play anywhere someone would let me, and I would just, you know, go. I'd play in, you know, lobbies of hotels. I played on the street for a while. You know, I just really wanted to play. So it wasn't easy. I didn't get, you know, a deal and, you know, become a solo artist immediately. It wasn't that. It was a lot of work. It was definitely reality check.
What was your first break? What you consider your first break, or series of little things that led to a break?
Yeah, and it was a series of things, you know, but I would say the one probably really big thing, I was playing on the street, right? Because I just thought, okay, I got a job as a waitress when I first got there. I was just an awful waitress, you know? And I was so bad.
That's
Oh my
great.
God. And
I was an awful wait. That should be the title of your biography. I was an awful waitress.
I was an awful waitress.
That's wonderful.
And I'm sitting there thinking, I've got a degree in woodwind performance from Berklee College of Music, you know, the best contemporary music school. I'll put it up against anything in the world. And I'm serving food to people. I'm not supposed to be saying, do you want fries with that? I'm supposed to be saying, you know, what song do you want to hear? So I went out and played on the street, and I was like, this is what I'm going to do. If no one's going to hire me as a, you know, as a musician, I'm going to hire myself and make my own. This guy walked up as I was playing out on 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica, and I knew who he was. His name is Bobby Lyle, and he was this jazz keyboard player, older, you know, established, amazing musician. I was a total fan, and he came up to me and stayed and watched. And when I finished playing, he came up and said, really, would you play on my next record? And I have a tour coming up. Would you want to do that? And I was like, hell yeah, I'll pack up now. Come on.
Holy
you know, please
crap.
hire me. This is amazing. So I did. And I mean, the guys in his band were phenomenal. I played on his next record, The Power of Touch. And I literally toured the world with this guy. And it was Alfonso Johnson on bass, you know, from Weather Report. And it was Al McKay on guitar from Earth, Wind, and Fire. And I mean, all the sax players that had played in Bobby's band had all gone on to be solo, you know, solo saxophone stars, you know, Everett Harp and Gerald Albright. And so Bobby looked at me, he goes, you're being groomed. You're going to be there too. And they just took me under their wing. They were amazing to me. They were so respectful of me and showed me the ropes. And it was incredible. And that snowballed for me to touring with Tina Marie and Jonathan Butler and, you know, just a bunch of other people. And it was super cool.
How old were you when you got that gig?
I mean, probably 20, 22, 21. Yeah.
That had to feel
So,
like
you know,
so good.
It was so great. I'm in Japan with Bobby Lyle. I'm in Korea, you know, I'm in, you know, America doing all this stuff. Oh, and you can tell we're in Hollywood. The helicopters are coming for me.
Oh.
Hi, LAPD.
do they, is that like common out there? They have helicopters flying all over to check out what's going on?
Yeah, it's Hollywood. Come on.
Oh, is that really? That's a normal thing? Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Well, let me ask you this. It's probably a premature question, but I want to ask you, because we've talked about all the stuff you've done, but what is it for you? What do you think that drives you so hard?
You know, that's a great question. You mentioned that earlier. And I don't know if there's one thing that drives me harder than another. You know, I didn't grow up with kind of that B game, you know, like, ooh, I'm going to have, you know, this other thing over here in case music doesn't work. I can always fall back on this. I didn't have that. I didn't have rich parents, you know, so it was kind of like I either go out and get a job or the rent's not being paid, you know, so there was that, you know, just kind of base level, I need to make a living and I can only rely on myself. But I really believe that if you're going to do something, you should delve in and you should go for it. And I think with music, you know, that was something I was in practice rooms in college, just, you know, tons of hours a day. And I just really cared. You know, and I wasn't the best player by any stretch at that school. And for that matter, in our business at all throughout my entire career. But I believe that I care as much as anyone, and I try harder than anyone. I'm definitely the hardest working person. And I think that matters a lot. It was super early on. I remember I was auditioning for the Florida All-State Jazz Band, and I thought it was really cool that I could, you know, maybe go in and audition and be part of this band that was all the Florida kids. And I remember I gave up at a certain point because I was just I was thinking, you know what? I don't have a chance in hell of getting this. There's a bunch of guys or girls out there that are going to just eat me for lunch, and can play me, under the table. And I remember my dad coming in, he's like, hey, I heard a bunch of saxophone the last couple of weeks, but I don't hear it now. And I just said, yeah, I mean, I thought about it. I don't have a chance at this at all. So why am I even trying? And he kind of talked me into going and at least trying, So I auditioned and I got it. I got the first chair alto sax, in the Florida All-State Jazz Band. And I came in, I was so excited. I'm like, Dad, I got this. This is amazing. Like, what are the chances? And he goes, it's not the most talented people who get what they want. It's the people who put themselves out there and go for it. And he goes, sometimes there's these people that are incredible at what they do. You'll never hear, who they are. You'll never hear what they do because they don't believe in themselves or they don't try. So I've always taken that advice and just gone for it. And if there's something I want to do, I go for it, much like the Grammys, I got into being a governor on the board of governors, and I just saw there was so much to do. And the more I kind of delved in, I was like, wow, you guys do this charity, and there's this possibility for kids in schools. And I just kept, going deeper and deeper, and there was more to do. So I don't know, I just always delve in. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to go for it.
Are you good with like relaxing? Because people that are like that, as I'm like that, I struggle with relaxing. Like relaxing is almost like I'm better now. I know myself, but it was at one point it was almost like a crime. If you know,
you're
like,
not allowed.
Yeah, but that's not normal either. That's not good.
It's not. And I think for a long time in my life, like I remember being on the road with the Backstreet Boys so many years ago, and you're out for 9 months.
Wow.
And then you'll come home for 2 weeks, and then you'll go out for another 2 months, and then you'll come back for 3 days, and then come back, go back. And I toured on and off, we were on tour basically for almost 2 years. So I'd only have a few days here at home and go back. And so I felt like I didn't have that opportunity. I didn't want to take a vacation when I was home. I had stuff to do. Like I wanted to make my own record because, I was playing for them, but yet I had songs that I wanted to, get out to the world. So yeah, I didn't vacation or relax for a long time. But I really take the chance now because, my world brings me to all these cool places. And, whether it's stuff that I'm putting on or stuff my band is doing or cool festivals all around the world, I'll just say, oh, my God, we're in Italy. Let's stay an extra 5 days.
Cool.
Let's go for it. So I totally do that and just tack it on to whatever we're doing and hang. But,
Okay, great.
The pandemic has been a good spot to kind of try to soak this in and not try and work through every day, but, try and give that space to just kind of be and be all right with it. And I struggle with that, but I've done better in the pandemic than, earlier in my life, for sure.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. A lot of people have. I have for sure learned a lot about relaxing during this time too. So, well, good. Thank you.
And this is Japanese green tea, by the way, not a beer.
It's not what it's Japanese whiskey.
Japanese whiskey. Yeah, take that. A little rock and roll saxophone for you.
There you go. So let's talk about that. You mentioned several times that you had this drive. You wanted to get your own music out there. From the time that you moved to LA, you waited a while before releasing your first record. And knowing how smart you are, I was wondering, was like there a particular reason, or it was just you were balls to the wall, you didn't have a moment to breathe?
No, I really tried to get a record deal. I mean, I would make demos. I was going out playing everywhere. And boy, I just got every door slammed in my face. It was just,
holy shit.
We don't need another sax player. We have way too many of them. You're a woman. We don't know how to market that. We don't know, a woman sax player. That's kind of weird. And then I sang and played sax. So some of the people were like, well, you have to choose do you want to make a vocal record or do you want to make a saxophone record? Because we don't know what to do with both of those. I mean, I had every record label turn me down multiple times, just all the time. There were no yeses out there. And at that point, you couldn't make your own record. You couldn't, you know, just do your own thing. It was basically get a record deal or you weren't out there. So what happened was I needed to make a living, and I started touring with other people. So I went out with Bobby Lyle. I went out with Jonathan Butler, Tina Marie, Adam Sandler, you know, the Backstreet Boys. It was actually during the Backstreet Boys tour that someone came up to me on one of my breaks. I was playing with Jonathan Butler in San Diego, and
On a break. That's so funny. You got another gig. That's exactly what we were just talking about. Like, oh, I got 2 weeks off. Shit, let me get a gig.
Right, I should get a gig. It's a sickness, isn't it?
No, it is.
I don't know.
I'm with you. I get it. Trust me.
But yeah, the A&R guy from Verve Records, Bud Harner, he came up after the show and he just said, you know what? I know you're playing for Jonathan Butler, but if you have songs maker for records, and I love what you're doing. And I just thought, oh my God, like I've been trying for this for so long. And literally I had to go back on the road with Backstreet Boys. So I told him, you know, okay, hey, I'm going to go back on the road with Backstreet Boys, but I hear you and I would love that. And please, you know, don't forget about me. I'll be back and I'm going to come up with some songs for you. So I did. And, you know, when I got off the road, I literally sent him songs and he signed me, and we were in the studio in the, you know, the next month making a record.
What a great story, man. That is really cool. And you know, what's interesting in listening to your music, you're a very good songwriter. And one thing different, like when I'm listening to like a guitar player that puts out an album, there's not a sax solo in every song.
I love that you noticed that, because we call it the gratuitous sax solo. And
it was very noticeable, because I was like, I was expecting more sax solo. That's what people do when they, you know, but you just like wrote really good songs. And the fact that you
so nice of you to say. And I feel like just because I play saxophone doesn't mean that saxophone has to be on every song, because it doesn't. It just doesn't call for it sometimes. Sometimes it's better with a rock and guitar solo. I'm good with that. Share the love. Yeah.
Well, the fact that I think you're such a good singer definitely gives you that flexibility to probably not have to feel like, am I part enough of this, of my own song here?
Yeah, I feel like, you know, some of the songs I write are vocal. Our last record was all vocal. Every song was a vocal. There were no instrumentals. But the record before that with Me and the Bone Shakers was probably half and half. I think it was a little skewed more vocal, but I mean, I think there were 4 or 5 instrumentals. But I've had records that are 9 instrumentals and 1 vocal. So it really depends on where I'm at. The record that we just recorded, it's half and half.
Okay.
That's not out yet, but it's kind of like what I have to say and see where it goes. But it is all about the song and kind of how to just get that out there and how to portray that song the best. Yeah,
well, you're a really good songwriter. It was really nice hearing that, and it was really cool. Like I said, I was like, no sax solo here. I want to ask you about some of the artists you've worked with, and if you could talk about maybe how you got the gig, Mindy, and a cool or interesting story that you might have had from working with them. Yeah. Start with the Backstreet Boys.
Okay, so the Backstreet Boys, I was literally, this is crazy because I had, you know, I was playing on the street and I was doing stuff, but then I was doing a bunch of gigs for people and, you know, touring with a bunch of people. Then there came this long dry spell around, you know, 1999. All of a sudden, you know, I had been touring. I'd been like so busy. No one was calling. I mean, like the phone was dead. And I just was like, okay, well, I think I have to get a real job because this is not happening and I got to pay the rent. So I literally went to a temporary agency because I type fast. I type 150 words a minute. So I'm like, I type fast. I can do this. Hire me. So they hired me for a job. And I was just so bummed. I was just like, oh my God, I've spent, almost 10 years playing and being a musician, and I feel like such a failure. Just like all of a sudden I have to go back to a day job. Oh my God. So I took this job, and it was working for some company in the Valley. I got to work, 10 a.m. I get a call from the Backstreet Boys.
First day of work?
Someone who plays first day of work, like an hour into it. And
wow.
I mean, I had called my friend and said, maybe I can be an assistant for you, because this was a temporary job, who knows how long it would work out. But, and literally, yeah, the Backstreet Boys called at 10 a.m. And I was like, well, I can have your guy come over to my house tomorrow, and see, and see if he thinks I'm cool. So the guy came over to my house the next day, and I played for him, and he hired me, and I was in Belgium to start a tour the next week.
Holy shit. Wow. What a good story.
2 years. That's crazy, right?
That is so crazy.
Yeah, I was at rock bottom.
Wow. But I give you so much credit for going and taking a job, because I think a lot of people would not have done that. I know I've talked to lots of people that have not done that.
Right. But I didn't see another way,
Yeah.
At a certain point, what are you going to move in with your parents again? Stop it.
No, I totally, yeah. You got to pay the bills, man.
But that is the beauty of being a solo artist, and once I, kind of weaned myself off from touring with people and made my own records, I realized that I could make the phone ring for myself, that I didn't have to worry if someone else was calling me. And, with an instrument like saxophone, you're expendable. Maybe the guitarist isn't expendable,
right?
But someone like a percussionist or a background singer or a saxophonist, you're going to get cut first from these bands.
Totally.
They don't need you. It's like Duran Duran can get by without a sax player.
Right.
They're cooler with a sax player. Hello.
Of course.
But they can get by without it. They're cool enough.
Right.
But with me being a solo artist, I can call the shots. And, obviously there's a pandemic right now. My shots aren't being called.
Sure.
But this is the first time in, world history that this has happened. But you can make your phone ring as a solo artist.
Yeah.
And so that became, something very important for me.
And I bet someone like yourself that's, super driven and strong, that probably empowered you to know that you get to call your own, like the lack of having to be dependent on somebody else.
It's great. It's the best, I recommend it, but I think people underestimate what it takes to do that. I've definitely, seen that there are different types of people, and I was a different person when I was a sideman than I am as a band leader. You really have to have your eye on everything, and you have to know what's going on, and you have to be in touch with promoters, and be connected to your fans, and you have to care on a real different level than if you're just someone's saxophonist or singer. So it's a whole different level of commitment.
Well, I think it's the difference between being an employee and an employer in a nutshell.
Yeah.
The responsibility level is infinitely broader and deeper. Yeah.
Yeah, but I like it. And I know that, like my keyboard player's been with me 19 years. It's like, wow. I feel this draw, knowing that I get to, be that person that helps support the guys in my band and their lives and their families. And I feel that responsibility, that it's not just me, and it's not just me paying the rent. Now it's my family, it's the guys in my band. It's the bigger picture of, hey, I got a business here, and I'm running it, and I'm thinking of these guys as, hey, they are good to me, and they're loyal to me, and they're there when I need them. I need to be there for them, so it's definitely a responsibility, but one that I really love.
Yeah, I'm sure I could see you doing great at that, You mentioned Duran Duran. I didn't put them on the list, but I thought my wife, we've been together 28 years, and it's quite funny that musically we're like, thanks, we're like, we have like zero compatibility, which is a really funny thing. But the one band that she saw in concert, she's from a little tiny village in England. The one band she saw in concert was Duran Duran. So tell me about how you got hooked up with Duran Duran and any cool stories about working with them.
Those guys are amazing. And if you ever get the chance to go see them, they are rock stars. And they're all amazing musicians individually. But together, I mean, they're just this force of nature. It's incredible. So I met John Taylor because my best friend and neighbor and the guy who produced my first 4 records, Matthew Hager, was producing one of John's solo records.
Okay.
And it was when John wasn't with Duran. He had left Duran, and he was just doing his own solo stuff. And so I got to know John, and he actually wrote with me and played on, I think he's probably been on 4 or 5 of my records. But my very first record, It Just Happens That Way, he co-wrote the title track with me. And song, that melody. And so we became friends, and I'm such a fan of him as a musician. I'm a total psycho fan of him as a bass player, and just how he thinks of harmony and movement in bass. I think he's a genius. So we just bonded. So when Duran got back together, it was their Comeback to America tour. He called me and just said, hey, we're doing a comeback tour. We're all together. It was all the original members, and that hadn't happened for some time. So I did the beginning of that tour, but gave it to their sax player that had done it for, many years after that, because I was weaning myself off. Like, this was in 2003 or 2004 that they did their Comeback to America, and this was right after my career was starting as a solo artist. And I looked at him and went, I totally want to go on the road with you guys. You're my friends, but I have to go be a solo artist and give this a real shot and be out there with my band. But Duran was the best because, like, John hired me because we were friends, and he knew I'd be good for it. The rest of the guys didn't know me from Jack, and here's this girl walking in to play the Roxy and these other places with them. So I had this meeting on the street with the band, and so John was like, this is Mindy, and she's going to be doing these shows, the Comeback to America shows with us. And, so they didn't ask me about the music. They didn't ask me about anything. But Nick Rhodes was like, what are you wearing?
That's a Duran Duran question. You'd
all about the fashion. I mean, and I had
awesome.
Blonde and black hair at the time. I still do. And Nick's like, well, your hair will match perfectly. His was, super blonde. But what are you wearing? We need to think this out.
How funny is that? Oh my God.
Yeah,
so what are you
great.
Wearing?
It was all about what I was wearing. Yeah.
What are you wearing?
I think they knew I had the music in the bag, but it's all about the fashion, baby.
That's so funny. Oh my God. I give you a lot of credit again. That took some balls because, when you start something, it's really easy to confuse progress, being busy with making progress. And it's it's very easy to excuse yourself from like doing your mission, which in your case was growing your career as an artist, and saying, man, I got to put that on hold. I got this massive tour with huge band, Duran Duran. But you said, hey, I got to do it. That's really cool. I give you a lot of credit for that, because it could have gone, you could have easily blown it off.
Yeah. I mean, you have a tour like that's going to be huge and was huge. That, oh my God, this is money in the bank.
Right.
This is, this is like a bird in the hand.
Right.
You don't give that up as a touring musician. You don't say no to that kind of stuff.
Right.
But when you've got, when you've got this carrot in front of you of, this is what I've gone for my whole life. And my first record had, totally kicked ass. It was doing great. And I had this shot at really being a solo artist for the rest of my life, but I had to walk away from, you know, touring with other people, or that would have been my life. It was the same with Aerosmith, you know, much later. But I mean, I could have gone on to tour for years with Aerosmith, but at the end of the day, I would be Aerosmith's sax player.
Yeah.
And my career as me would have taken a back seat. And ultimately, that's not what I wanted. So I did my summer tour, my summer vacation with Aerosmith,
Yeah.
but I went back to being Mindi Abair, which is
Man,
what
I give
wanted.
you all the credit in the world, because I've worked with business owners the last 22 years in the consulting capacity, and I know this is a very easy thing to do, to take the sure money versus not sure money. Yeah.
It's rent.
Good for you. Yeah, man. Good for you, though. How did you meet the guys at Aerosmith? How did you get connected with those guys?
I was called by Don Was to do American Idol.
Okay.
And Don called me and he goes, "Hey, I got this rock and roll sax solo. I got this guy who's, you know, a contestant on American Idol, and I need some rock and roll saxophone. It's the song is old time rock and roll." And he goes, "If you do the track,
Hey, you just broke up
for your career thing."
Hang on one second,
Mindy.
Like,
okay.
Sorry, just say that again. He said it just broke up. You said if you do the track, okay. And then what? Yeah,
so Don was like, "If you do the track, you know, you'll probably be on the show, and 26 million people watch the show every week. It's got to be good for your career."
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah.
Okay.
So that first week I go on the show, I did the track, and that first week I go on the show, and sure enough, we finished the song, and Steven Tyler just screams out, he's like, "Forget you, who's your sax player?" And I was just like, oh. So, you know, I got to know him just a little bit backstage, because I did American Idol as their featured saxophonist from then on for a couple seasons. And boy, I get this call from Steven Tyler one day. You know, you can't mistake his voice. That, "Hey, we got to do this. Time's running out. Gotta this, gotta that." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? I don't even know what you're talking about." So, you know, I go in his trailer at American Idol that day, and he plays me the new Aerosmith record.
Oh, cool.
And I'm sitting there listening to it just like, this is killer. I'm such an Aerosmith fan. I love those guys.
Yeah.
And he's playing me. And so he goes, "Okay, I've only seen you play on American Idol. So, you know, play along to that. Let's see what you sound like on that." So I'm like 1 foot from him, and I'm playing, doing my thing to the record. And he's, "Yeah, okay, Waddy Wachtel tells me that you can sing, but I know you're not singing on American Idol because, you know, you're not a contestant." He goes, "So sing this," and he sings something. And I'm literally just face to face with him in his trailer, and "Sing that." And I'd sing it back to him, and we just went back and forth like that. And he looked at me and he goes, "All right, I'm going to hire you for the Aerosmith tour." He goes, "You're going to get 3 gigs before the band votes on it, because the band doesn't want a sax player. The band just wants to be us, but I want to make it bigger, and I want more, I want more muscle, and I want more bang for the buck." So he goes, "I want to bring you on. You're going to prove yourself, but they're going to have to vote. So you only got 3 gigs. And I was just like, all right, sure. I mean, what are you going to say? You can't say no to Steven Tyler. And for me, I know I play sax, but my dream gigs are, Bruce Springsteen, who I got the chance to play with once, which was great. Aerosmith, the Stones,
Sure.
I'm not the one who wanted to go on the road and be Charlie Parker.
Right.
So I'm in heaven right now. And I was just like, bring it on, man. Bring on 40 years of material. I know most of it.
Right,
So
right.
I just took it and ran with it.
That's so, isn't that funny? Like you come home probably that night and someone says, how was your day? Well, I auditioned for Aerosmith. You know, you left the house in the morning. You just thought you're doing your normal thing. I had an audition with Steven Tyler for Aerosmith. That's pretty random. Very cool.
Yeah, and it was just so nice. I mean, the guys in the band were amazing to me. Joe Perry, the first night, he called me into his dressing room and he was just like, what do you need? What can I do to help you out? I know, it's your first night, and just name it, and he was such a gentleman. And when I did my solo record the next year, Wild Heart, he came in and played on the record and was just like, just this beautiful presence. And
that's nice.
It was incredible. Like, what an honor to have Joe Perry on my record,
But it says a lot about his character too, that he asked you, like a, big brother or something like, hey, how can I help you here? That was really cool. That says a lot about him.
It does. And it's interesting. I think, that those guys have their own ideas of what they want their band to be. And, they want to make sure that it's the best, and they all want to make sure that, no one's in there that shouldn't be. And I remember getting a call from Waddy Wachtel after Steven Tyler had hired me, and Waddy goes, all right, so I got a call from Joe Perry, and he told me that Steven Tyler hired and someone from American Idol is going to get the testosterone of Aerosmith. So he wants to know who I would recommend to play sax. And, I just said, who'd you say? And he said, I recommended you, but I told him you'd never do it. And he goes, I didn't know that Steven Tyler already hired you. But he goes, I gave him your name and just said, you'd never do it. You have a solo career. There's no way you're going out with Aerosmith. And I was like, well, actually, I said yes. And he goes, well, you just got the second vote then because, Joe didn't want whoever it was that was going to be not cool from Aerosmith. And I just gave you the thumbs up from the real rock and roll world.
That's very cool.
So I think it is interesting that sometimes it takes different, avenues to get a gig. It wasn't just that one guy wanted me. It was that, okay, one guy wanted me, but the rest of the band was thinking, oh, someone's going to come in and be Fluffy from American Idol. They didn't watch the show. They didn't know. So, it took a few avenues to get into that band. And even though I didn't know them, I got referred from people who I had worked with that respected me and knew I could do the gig.
It's funny. I've had the same thing happen just with this show where like somebody will refer me to a person and I reach out and I don't get a response. And then somebody else will refer me to a person and they're like, hey, what's up? So it's a very funny industry like that. It really is. And it's exciting, when it works.
When it works, it's totally exciting.
Adam Sandler, that I was really interested in. How did that come about and what were you doing with him?
I had the most fun anybody's ever had in their life touring with Adam Sandler. And I mean, bring on your stories. I'm going to win on this one. I mean, I literally, I was new to LA. I'd only been here a couple of years and someone called me to play a wedding. And I had never played with this band, wedding band. The Hollywood Helicopters.
Yeah, there you go.
Hiding out in my backyard.
That's why you got all this shrubbery around you.
I know, right? Foliage. They'll never see me.
That's right.
Catch me alive. So I took this wedding gig, playing with a wedding band I had never played with. And I got there and I'm playing the gig and I realized that it's a lot of musicians around, musician jokes, and people are telling, giving speeches and stuff, and it was a musician's wedding.
Okay.
So basically, a couple people got my number that night. They're like, "Ooh, I need a sax player for this. I need a sax player for that." And I'm like, "Okay, sure. Here's my card." So the guy who got my number, his name is Mark Schulman. He's played drums with Pink and Cher. He's Pink's drummer. He has been for years. I didn't know him, but He asked for my card. The guys from Sandler's tour were asking around, is there someone who can sing that could play sax? So
Wow.
Mark Schulman from this wedding band that I'd never played with got my number, gave it to Adam Sandler's people. It was Waddy Wachtel that was his music director. And it was just, all the guys in the band were rock giants. I mean, they were from every amazing band, Bob Glaub and Mike Thompson and you know.
Yeah, those are some big names.
And oh yeah, they were all just nuts, amazing, great musicians. So they wanted 3 girl background singers. I went in a cattle call of 200 girls. And
Wow.
maybe 5 auditions later, it came down to 3 of us. And I could play sax, so I became the big man. The big
Wow.
man. So I got to go
really
in,
cool.
sing, and play sax, and it was the most fun ever. And Adam, you know what? Adam taught me so much because he has had this family of people around him. Anything he's done from 1995, I think that was, to today, he calls me for sax. And he calls me, you know, whether he's getting a Lifetime Achievement Award and needs me to sing, or whether he's doing a movie and he wants me to be, you know, in the band in the whatever scene. And it's just fun. It's fun to be a part of his life and his career. And, you know, now we've known each other for, I don't know, 25 years. And it's a fun family. And he respects people around him, and he keeps them around him, and he's built his career that way. And I just learned so much. You know, be good to the people around you and keep them around you, and you know, make them a part of your success. It's awesome.
That's really, you know, I saw an interview with him, and people don't realize how successful that guy. He's one of the most successful people in Hollywood, if I'm not mistaken. Like, he's made hundreds of movies, all his own production company.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's really you know, a go-getter, and he does have the same, you know, rotates the same circle of guys and gals in his movies, which is kind of cool.
But those are the people that, you know, like when I met him, his roommates were, you know, one was Alan, who's his best friend in every movie, and now, you know, does production and executive production. And Frankie Karachi was, you know, the director for some of his movies. He was his roommate at the time. Jack, who's been the producer for a bunch of his movies, he was his roommate. I mean, it's the family that he built from his friends. He created his production company and made his own, and it's, you know, and he's so smart to do that and have this team of people around that are great guys that were his friends, and that, you know, they got to do it together. How fun is that?
Oh, it's really cool. Very cool. That's nice. That's a good, where did you tour, like all over the country? Where were you touring with him?
Yeah, we did sheds. So we did, you know, all these sheds around the country, probably 10,000 seaters.
Right.
So it was an American tour, and it was over a summer. And then we ended up with an HBO special that is still on YouTube somewhere. I think clips of it are. But it was an HBO special that was, you know, it's all a concert. Chris Farley came in and, you know, for the concert and got crazy with us a little bit. But it was just such a fun thing, because Adam was royalty of the comedy world, but this was a music tour. This was not stand-up. This was not anything like that. It was all music with a killer band, and we just had a blast learning songs every night, trying this, trying that. You know, we'd play Springsteen songs. We played Adam songs, you know, and it was just a chance to go out. You know, I had gone to a school that was, you know, known for jazz and theory and, you know, all this great stuff. And I all of a sudden learned that sometimes you just have to forget all that and have a great time. You know,
cool.
It'll all come back to you. But you don't have to stand there on stage and think, no, I'm going to play the substitution of the, you know, harmonic minor 2/5 on this, and that's going to be hipper. No, go rock.
You just
for
cut
God's
loose.
sakes. Go rock. Yeah. And it was just a great lesson in my life to go have fun and make music and just have it be a blast.
That's great. I give a guy like that, you got to give him credit for who is so strong, such a like a force in one field, and then to have the courage to go out and do something totally different where most people are like, oh, you're a comedian, you're not. That's pretty cool that he went and just did it and said, fuck it. I want to do what I want to do and hire some great people and have a great show.
Yep.
Yeah. That's
and
cool.
It was a blast, and still in all of our memories, it's just like, that was the best, right? I mean, it wasn't just me. No, it was the best. I mean,
That's
we're
cool.
all just like, it was a special moment in time that was just amazing.
Very nice. Mandy Moore, I read that you put her first band together and you were her MD, keyboardist, and percussionist.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
When Mandy Moore opened for the Backstreet Boys on tour, she was 14 years old. And she used to get booed off the stage because, all these little girls came to see Backstreet Boys. They were enamored with these boys. And then this cute little girl comes out and they're like, boo, we don't want to see you. We came to see the Backstreet Boys. Get off the stage. And poor Mandy, I mean, she was super talented and super sweet. And she'd come off the stage just like, and she was just doing her thing. So when
she was 14?
14.
Yeah, that's heavy.
So when she got to the point, where, her records were doing really well, and she was playing to 60,000 people a night, just like we were, and so she started doing TV. And her manager called me, and he was just like, we need to put together a real band for her. She was doing tracks and dancers, with us. And he goes, would you put together a band? She trusts you, and I trust you, and, you're and under tour, and so I think you're the right person. So I put together my friends. I put together my best friend from college, Matthew Hager, who was producing, who went on to produce my records, and a bunch of our friends, and they were amazing musicians. And so we started her band and did all the the late night TV shows and early morning TV shows, and did MTV, whatever spring break craziness in Key West, and we did some really cool stuff with her, and we were always just super respectful that she was a kid.
Yeah.
We tried not to show her that we were drinking and being crazy and being rock stars behind the scenes. And and she was just amazing, and her parents were around and they were amazing and looking after her. So it's so fun to see her just become who she's become. I'm so proud of her. And I haven't seen her in years, but it was that beginning that, you gotta take that seriously and be cool with it. And I ended up going back, to Backstreet Boys, and then going to do my own career and everything. But the guys in the band, they were like, you hired us. Anytime you need a gig, we'll hire you back. And so I'd come back as like the percussionist, or come back as the keyboard player, or whatever. There's no sax in Mandy's stuff.
Yeah,
so
I didn't think so.
It was fun that we kept each other working,
That's really, well, that's happened to you a lot. Like when you talked about, that's happened to you a lot where, you met somebody and, it led to something else. And that's, I think there's a lot of satisfaction when that happens, isn't there?
Yeah, I think, sometimes you don't know what things are going to lead to, like the wedding that I was playing that ended up leading me to Adam Sandler's gig. There was no reason to do that, other than making the, $100 that I probably made that night.
Sure.
You don't know that it's going to lead to stuff. But the same with the Backstreet Boys gig, it was so many years ago now, but they asked people for referrals, and they said that 3 different people referred them to me. And so I looked at that as, you know what, if you want to go out there and be something, you've got to be out there and be it, because you don't know who's going to ask, Larry, who do you think would be right for this gig? Or you don't know who's going to ask Susan, hey, who would you, think of for that? It's going to be who's been in front of their face and who's had a career out there and who's been in the trenches. So I was definitely in the trenches, and, I wasn't necessarily proud about every single gig I took. And some stuff was free and some stuff was whatever. Some people are like, you should never take a gig that you don't get paid for. You know what? Some of the gigs I didn't get paid for led to some of the best friendships and some of the most amazing gigs that I've had, because I was just in the trenches making music, and it, you know, it got me out there. So yeah, I totally agree with you. Sometimes those intangibles that you just don't think are anything. Oh, I'm doing this weird gig over here for someone, I don't know, but hey, never know.
No, you never. And even like, you know, look, accepting the Don Was gig on TV was not a difficult decision, but you didn't think day one you'd be in Steven Tyler's trailer auditioning for Aerosmith.
Right,
I mean, you know, that's like, you can't, that's not stuff you could plan, you know, that's
it's not
like
normal.
Yeah, sir. How much do you think you're extremely easy to get along with, right? I'm sure you're tough as nails and demanding as hell because of your own. Well, I mean, you know, look, you're not. You didn't get to what you're doing by like expecting shitty work, nor expecting it of yourself. So that's like normal, right? But you're super easy to get along with. How much do you think that has helped you in gigs? Because like I know you're the kind of, you seem to be the kind of person, like I say, I know, because I don't know you, but I know that you are the kind of person that the gig sucks, you're going to have the same smile on your face that you did when you walked into it. Now you'll go home and like probably like pull your hair out or whatever the hell, but you got that down. How did you learn to do that? Or how did you know that how important that was?
You know what? I think it's a really interesting question. I think that so much of any gig is the hang.
Yeah.
I've been in bands with people that are so easy to get along with, and it's just awesome. And I've been in bands with people I want to kill. You know, that's like, oh my God, why am I stuck with this person on a tour bus? You're kidding me.
Wow.
So, you know, I think I'm very aware of that, especially when I hire people. You know, my band, it's a bunch of guys that are fun and they're easygoing, and they come in and they kill it every night, you know. And if any of those things aren't happening, like if they're not cool, if they're not chill, you know, then they wouldn't be there. And if they didn't play their ass off every night, they wouldn't be there. So it's this, you know, building blocks of what it takes to have a certain gig.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, definitely with someone like Aerosmith, you've got to know your place, and you've got to know, you know, you can't be the diva.
Yeah, people are coming to pay. People are paying to see those dudes.
Like,
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So at a certain point, I've seen side musicians for various bands that are, you know, that are divas and that make it tough to keep their gig. There's no reason for it. They're just acting out, or they, you know, they're like, I've got this gig, so, you know, I can ask for this and this and just, you know, be a pain. At a certain point, those people that are cool, that know their place, that know these people didn't pay to come see me.
Yeah.
They came to see this band, this artist, whatever. That's a special thing to know, and to know your place in it all, and to play your best every night. Like my guys, they're better musicians than I am because I hired them. I know I should have better musicians than I am in my band. That's what they do, you know.
Right.
And if I can put myself in that place, I'm going to be a better musician every night. But it's what they do. If they came in and screwed up every night, or didn't know the music, or, you know, oh, I was a little drunk that night, whatever. Like, no, I hired you to be the most killer keyboard player or drummer or whatever, night after night. That's like number one, you know.
Right.
So yeah, I do expect a lot, but it's all those things I look for in someone. You don't stay in my band if you're a drama queen. It just won't happen. You'll be fired immediately.
That's so funny. You use that expression, a drama queen.
Yeah, there's no time. Like, I'm too old. Bye.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Or you come in and you don't know the songs. Okay, guess what? There's 50 other people that know those songs, or that will learn them.
Yeah,
come
for
in
sure.
And play the hell out of them. So, you know, I learned because I was a sideman, and if I did my job and came in every night playing that stuff, then that was my gig.
Right.
Because I made it my gig,
Yeah.
So.
Very cool. Thank you. Talk about your book. You wrote a book called How to Play Madison Square Garden, A Guide to Stage Performance. What prompted you to write it? And, just share whatever you like about it. And what's it about?
Well, this is not a book about, how to navigate the music business. It's not about how to play the guitar. It's not about how to get a record deal. It's literally about how to create a stage show. It's how to portray what you do on stage. Because I realized, I went to Berklee College of Music, and I had classes in composition and music theory and, how to play my instrument and even music business. But there was no class on how to present what I did on stage. Yet 99% of the people that I know that are in the music business make their living by being on stage.
Yeah.
So why leave that off? This is a time when we're not making money off the records that we make.
Yes,
royalties have plummeted. Yeah,
yes.
For all of us. We make money because we play live. And why not think about that? Why not spend time on that? Just like you spent time playing your scales and learning cool licks from whoever, and sitting in your room just playing all this stuff on sax or guitar, keyboards, whatever. Why wouldn't you spend time becoming a great performer? My mind can't sell 5 tickets. People
say that last part again.
But they're amazing.
Sorry, Mindy.
Are we breaking up?
Yeah, just say that last part again about before selling 5 tickets. That's all I heard.
I know people who are amazing musicians. The best. They blow my mind. They can't sell 5 tickets. People don't buy tickets to see them. Whereas I see people who don't blow my mind, and I just think, wow, why did they just sell out a stadium of 20,000 people? Wow, I know so many people that are better musicians than them, but they've got that thing, and I think a lot of people think it's an it factor, like you're born with it. You can't learn that. They just have it. I completely disagree. I've spent my life on stage, and I've made every mistake in the book, and I've done some stuff right. I've watched everyone make every mistake in the book, but I've watched other people do stuff that's amazing and that connects. So, I just started writing stuff down, like, this works, this doesn't work, I just kind of started, writing it down and thinking, if I can save someone time and they can read this and kind of understand that it's about connection and that it's about portraying who you really are. There's so many other things to think about before you walk on stage, that you have to be you, and that you have to portray what your music is and be true. And so I wanted to write that book that could show people you could really do this at a higher level. And that's why people are going to buy a ticket to see you the next time instead of the guy who's your competition, or instead of just doing something else. Like, they're going to want to see you again because they connected with you.
So I'm assuming a lot of these things too, you probably like A/B split tested it. Let me try this on stage versus let me try this, right? I would imagine.
You know what? Certain things I saw people do, and just, you're like, oh my God, that's awful. What is going on? But then certain things you see that are amazing. Being on stage with Steven Tyler every night is amazing.
Yeah.
And when you're standing in an audience and Steven Tyler's singing to you, I don't care if you're on the top row, he sings to you. So he's not just singing to the front row. He'll go off in every place in that stadium and sing to him. Paul McCartney does the same thing. Billy Joel does the same thing. These guys are incredible performers, not just amazing songwriters and singers, amazing performers. Steven Tyler gets in your face. That guy gives a pound of flesh every night on stage. He cares so much that he connects with you. You feel like he's singing to you. So how do you do that in your own way? So, you know, those are the kinds of things that I would see and I would write down. Like, you can't just sing to the people that are within the, you know, first few rows. You have to literally think about it. Go to those people that are in the back rows and be like, are you guys having a good time? You know, I know that you're there. I see you. I'm singing to you. And not everyone does that, you know?
That's really, what did you, I'm assuming you played at the Garden.
Yes. Yeah, it is called, you know, How to Play Madison Square Garden.
What was the first time you played there?
It was with Mandy Moore.
With Mandy Moore. You know, I've talked to a bunch of people that have played there, and they said it's like kind of a dream, but at the same time, the sound system is awful. It's not like, has that been your experience too? Like it's just, you know, so big or whatever that it's just not that's funny.
I mean, any of these places, you're playing arenas, they all suck. The sound sucks in every one of them. You don't go to an arena because you want like the great, you know, the great sonic
it's not Carnegie
experience.
Hall. Yeah.
Yeah, you go there because you want to rock out and be a part of something bigger than you, and experience something with your 40,000 of your closest friends, you know?
Right.
So, I mean, that's what the beauty of live performance. But the idea of calling it, you know, How to Play Madison Square Garden is that you have to work your way up, and you have to play these crappy clubs, and you have to learn how to connect with your instrument and your craft and who you are. And you got to work your way up and learn how to play it or take it over. But that's the goal for sure.
Hey, question for you. Do you do, like, if somebody was interested in working with you, do you do like consulting on this stuff? I don't know. There may be people listening that might want some, you know, consult. I don't know if you do or don't. I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you do, I mean, someone contact you on, they'll get a hold of you through social media or something like that?
Yeah, I've done a bunch of master classes on how to play Madison Square Garden. And I'll go in and, you know, do like a class for Berklee College of Music. I did it and just walked people through, you know, a lot of the chapters and kind of concepts in the book, from, you know, who you are before you walk on stage and making sure you know every aspect of what you represent, who you are, what you're, you know, going to portray to people, to connecting with an audience and different ways to do that. Some do's and don'ts of what to do on stage, how to deal with stage fright, you know, all kinds of stuff like that. Stage setup, how to build your set list, all that kind of stuff. But I've done it in different colleges and different settings like that. And I've even coached some bands. You know, some bands will bring me in and I'll look at their show and I'll look at how they are on stage and just make assessments and say, if you changed this, or if you kind of moved this around, if you looked at, you know, how you're even standing on stage or how you're interacting with each other, it'll change things. And so, yeah, absolutely, I do that. And I don't do it often, but it's super fun when I do it. I love it.
Yeah. Well, I would see this as like, you don't have to be playing. I mean, to me, if you started this early in your career, your likelihood of playing bigger and better places, you know what I mean, is like greatly, like, don't wait till you're at Madison Square Garden to start this stuff. Now, the time to learn is now. That's how you get more gigs, by that interaction and connection, like what you said. So, all right, cool.
It's like the comedians, you know, they're always working out. You know, I live here in LA, so I know Adam Sandler. So it's like, you know, David Spade will be down at the Improv working material out, you know, and the Improv is super small. But then, you know, he'll pack 30,000 people into an arena and do tours every night. And, you know, that stuff that was worked out in front of 20 people at the Improv, you know, night after night after night, that's what we do as musicians.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you go into this whatever little club, you know, and you do your thing and you work out who you are and everything. But by the time you can, you know, make it happen with those bigger places, then you're on and you're a rock star.
It's very good. This is a really clever book. I think it's a good need for that. I want to You're welcome. I want to talk to you about your work with the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences. So you started with, this is like, now that I know you a little bit, is classic Mindy. You started out here at boom, boom, boom. Now you like take the place over. So you were in 2009, you were governor of the LA chapter. And since then you became secretary, president, and then national trustee for the Recording Academy. So like in layman's terms, what does this organization do? And like maybe what have been some of the cooler experiences you've had as part of it?
You know what? I really only knew the Grammys, you know, and I'd watch and think the outfits were cool and shoot, I always
What are you wearing?
What are you wearing, right? Of course. But I just always wanted to win a Grammy. I mean, that's the pinnacle as a musician. Like, to get a Grammy is it.
Right.
So I really never knew anything other. And I did this show. It was for Grammy Week, and it was Mavericks of Music. And it was all women and, you know, older, amazing, established artists to new artists. And it was just every style of music. And so I came in and did it. And I just thought it was amazing. It was just so cool to be a part of. But then I heard them talk and say, oh, well, all the proceeds from tonight go to the Grammy Foundation, and it benefits, you know, kids with music education. And I was like, wait, what? You guys do music education for kids? They're like, oh my God, we do so much outreach to kids to fill in the blanks of, you know, the arts that have been taken away from schools. And by the way, we have, you know, this outreach called Music Cares that gives money and resources to musicians who may not have health insurance. Hello, so many of us don't, you know, or haven't. And resources for, you know, health problems, will pay your rent if, you know, you have to go in for cancer treatment or something. And I'm like, my mind was blown. People in great fit. Oh, I would like to be a part of that. Will you call me the next time you do something with kids? I would totally come and play. So they started calling me for stuff, and I just started immersing. And so someone said, well, you could get more involved. You could be on our board of governors and you could help set up this stuff. Wow. Okay. So I ran for the board of governors. And from there, I just kept immersing. I became the president of the LA chapter, which was just amazing. It was amazing to have this board of people, probably 40 of us, that were from all different walks of life. You know, it was just everyone, R&B and, you know, pop and jazz and, you know, just everything, you know, and all these people, their heart was in the right place. They just wanted to make our business successful. They wanted to be advocates on Capitol Hill. They wanted to march and say, you know, let's stand up for our rights as performers, as songwriters. They wanted to go out and teach kids and further the legacy of music to the next generation. So it was just up to me to harness this. And it was the greatest thing in America. You know, it was just so fun. So from there, I became a national trustee and did that on a national level for the Recording Academy, and, you know, tried to just help shape the Recording Academy, get more women involved, get more people of color, get more, you know, gay, lesbian, all, you know, all of that involved. And it just meant something to me to kind of represent the underdog as women in the music business. And I mean, by the time I had left as president, a lot of our board was women, and so diverse, you know, Black, white, Latino, like we represented the music business. And
right.
So that was very important to me. When I came in, it was, you know, the quote, old white men on the Hill, a lot of that. And I was really proud to be a part of helping, you know, being a small part of helping turn that around for the Grammy organization and get them to be more diverse, to make that change, and to kind of market more what the Grammys does. I still think they're just awful at marketing how amazing they are behind the scenes, you know, of what they accomplish with advocacy and, you know, obviously their charitable outreach. So I kind of termed out last year. I had done it for so long, you got to hand it off to other people to do, but I'm still very involved with a lot of their outreach and advocacy, and Grammy Music Education Coalition, that, you know, their mission is to bring music education to every kid in America, which is amazing.
That is cool. Yeah, and there's no more resources at school anymore. A couple of questions. I've had a couple of 2 or maybe 3 people on the show that Music Cares, that got sober through Music Cares.
Yeah.
You know, they do a lot as far as that goes, as far as putting people through rehab, you know, and everybody was so grateful to that, you know, to the organization. Have you had a lot of
amazing stuff with that? You know, getting people sober is one thing, but then they have little centers on a lot of the tours, like the Warped Tour, or, you know, different tours. They'll have like a tent that's like a place.
Like a sobriety tent, or sort of?
Yeah, where you can go and hang out with sober people instead of, you know, just rock and roll, man. You know, so it's really cool that they create a framework. They don't only get you sober, but they create this framework that you can stay sober. And that's amazing. Yeah.
Have you had a lot of stress or a lot of bumped up against stuff because you're a woman? I know you said, like, a lot of the record companies, like, oh, you're a woman saxophone player, we don't know what to do with you. Have you had to deal with a lot of that stuff?
You know what? I didn't even think about it when I was a kid. Like, it just, I was so lucky to have just people who told me I could be anything and do anything I wanted.
Right.
And you believe them as a kid. We should tell all our kids that, and we should carry that through.
Right on.
You know, and, but I realized that it wasn't that way. You know, I went into college, and the first college I went into to audition to get into college, I walked into the saxophone professor's office, and he just looked at me. He goes, "So I'm not going to let you into the jazz department. Girls don't make it at this school.
Holy
and, so you can save it. You don't even have to play for it."
Wow.
I was like, "Well, can I play for you, and maybe you'll change your mind?" And he goes, "You can play for me, but it's not going to change my mind." I know, right? I'm 17. And I played for the guy. I tried to change his mind. He let me into the education department, and I left.
Wow.
That school. Yeah.
You're like so tough. I'd be afraid of saying that to you.
I was 17. I was just a kid, you know. I was so bummed. I just never occurred to me that anyone would.
Yeah.
It never occurred to me.
Yeah.
So for me, it became like this quest to change people's mind. Obviously, this guy had misconceptions about a woman.
He was just an idiot.
What,
yeah. I mean, he's probably just a jerk, you know.
Yeah, probably. But there's more of him out there, and that's such a shame that probably other women would have gone to that school and been amazing. You know?
Yeah, and killed it. Yeah.
And gained so much and learned so much, and my heart was so in it. But it became this quest just to kind of, when I stepped on stage, maybe the people in the audience would think differently about women musicians leaving than they thought going into it.
Yeah.
And so it was up to me, and still is up to me, to, you know, kind of change the minds of people of what a woman is capable of. And I look at it that way instead of, oh my God, I'm beat down, and this is screwed up and whatever. No, it's up to me to be a part of the change and to be a part of that glass ceiling breaking. And it's awesome. I mean, there's so many things now that are opportunities for women, and we have to keep making them, because it is hard, you know. And there are gigs that you'll get because you're a woman, and there are other gigs you'll get because you're a man.
Yeah.
You know, Tina Turner, I remember someone referred me to her when her sax player got ill years ago. And, you know, he was this big muscly guy. And Tina's people said, no, we need a big muscly guy. That's our thing.
Yeah.
You know, Tina's this incredible girl. She doesn't need you. She needs that big muscly guy. And I'm like, I totally respect that. I get it. You know, whereas Adam Sandler was like, if I can get a girl that plays sax like Clarence Clemens, I think that's awesome. And I think that's so funny to call her the big man and have her come out and rock out. And, you know, people would come up after after and be like, was she really playing? You know, and Adam thought that was the funniest thing in America. And so it was like, okay, you know, there are certain gigs you get because you're who you are. And you just have to build off that and try and change those misconceptions.
Yeah. Well, like I said, you're a dynamo, man. So I think you'd have, you know, when you run for president, let me know. I'll cast your first vote. Let me tell you, seriously.
Who knows?
Hey, you got nothing going on right now. You might as well look into. You might need a plan B at this point, Mindy.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell me about Reserve. You ever see that show? Remember In Living Color?
Oh yeah.
You're like that. You only got one job. No, this is you. You got like. Tell me about.
I got 15 jobs, man.
Yeah. I'm telling you. Tell me about Reserve Tastings Wine. I know we touched on it a little bit. What prompted you to start that one, and what did you learn from that? Because that's a totally different business. You know, you're in distribution.
It is.
And
let me start by saying I am not the wine expert, and I'm not trying to be. I'm married into wine. So I met my husband. We were set up on a blind date by another sax player, Dave Cause, and my husband's company was making Dave's, you know, private label wine. So, you know, Dave was like, hey, I've got this good looking guy who, you know, runs the winery that makes my wine. I think you guys would be good together. And so I'm like, okay, yeah, hook it up. So, you know, I'm 7 or 8 years later now, I'm married to him.
Congratulations. Good for you.
Thanks. So for the first many years,
he knows how to run Zoom, and he knows how to set up your wireless earbuds. What more could you want in a man?
I never use headphones. Like, I'm always the acoustic girl, you know. I'm always got my saxophone. I can feel that in my knees, you know. I like listening to music in person. He's earphones all the time. So yeah, I was like, what? Help me out with the audio to go good enough to just give me your sauce.
There you go.
But he lives and breathes wine. I mean, this guy loves wine. If he's got time off, he's studying wine. He's just a geek, or as he says, a cork dork. So here I've got this husband who's just loving wine. I get to go to all these wineries and wine tastings and everything. It's so cool. But then there comes a point where he gets laid off because he had put all these things together for this winery, changed everything for them. And they're like, oh, by the way, you know, we kind of don't need you anymore. And he came home and he was just like, I don't want to do this for other people. I've run some of the greatest wineries, Mum Napa and Kendall Jackson. And he goes, why wouldn't we do it for us? So he goes, what could we do that, you know, you travel all the time, but we could travel and have wine and music be a part of our lives, that we could do what we do and be, you know, have our own careers, but be together more. So we came up with this idea. We always sit home and drink wine, and we pair it to music. You know, he'll bring home some big red wine, and I'll be like, this is soul music tonight. This goes with this wine, and it's going to be, you know, all these great soul musicians, Booker T. Jones and, you know, Sam Cooke and, you know, Rufus Thomas. Let's do this. So we came up with the idea that we would have a wine club. We would ship people wine 4 times a year. He would find the wine because he has all these people that are winemakers and everything that he just knows. He knows this black market of, I can go in and find cool wines that no one else can get. So he finds them. I come up with the artwork and, you know, something that's music centric, and then curate this playlist that you drink the wine and you listen to the playlist and it just pairs perfectly. So some of our wines, like Viva La Rock, is total rock and roll. You're listening to the Rolling Stones and AC/DC and the Ramones, but some of our wines are beautiful and, you know, they have to do with harmony, and it's Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and it's Fleetwood Mac, and every wine has its own style and its own, you know, place in music. So we've had a blast doing it. And it's been not even a year since we started this. Forbes wrote us up early on, and it's just been a really cool thing to do. And we've loved it. And our members have fun. We do virtual wine tastings. Look up at Reserve Tastings, and, you know, and we just have a blast, and it's music and wine. I don't have to be a wine expert. My husband is.
Sure.
I have to be a music expert, which I am.
But what's cool about it is there's tons of the month wine clubs, but this is a differential that you guys have that nobody else has. That's really cool. And I'm sure there's a lot of there's so many wine fans, and I'm sure it fits right in for what these people want.
Yeah, I mean, we put on festivals. I've had my own festival in Punta Gorda, Florida, for a few years now. And it's, you know, at first it was like really bad beer and great music.
Where's Punta Gorda? Is that like south?
Yeah, Punta Gorda is on the west coast, just around Fort Myers.
Okay,
so where I'm from, St. Pete, it's just about an hour south.
Okay. When do you do that? Shit, I'll go to that. When do you do that?
November. But this year, I don't.
I know.
It's going to happen.
But what do I look up to find it? Because that would be.
You can go to my website, mindyabair.com, and it says, you know, the music festival. But it's Mindi Abair's Wine and Music Festival.
Okay.
So, yeah. And it's a blast. But I was like, why are we drinking bad beer and eating hot dogs and listening to Keb Mo and Larkin Poe and like, why great music and just crappy food and drink? So we bring in our wines, we do it, we do wine tastings, and Eric's off being, you know, the super, super wine guy. And we have a blast. And it's a whole different way to have a festival. It's great wine and great music.
That's really cool. So anybody wants to check that out, it's reservetastings.com.
Yep. And you can get to it off my site too, mindyabair.com. But it's a blast. You get wine 4 times a year, and it's our wine. You can't find it anywhere else. And it's amazing. What's cool. Yeah, it's amazing. And we've got artists that do our labels, like my friend Nick Egan, who's this amazing rock and roll painter. He's done 2 of our labels so far, and they're killer. He paints them, and it's just so cool. So it's a fun chance to have fun and drink more, which is what this pandemic.
Yeah, you know, I read the liquor stores are slamming with business.
Oh my God. Yeah, from me.
We've
got our own wine to drink. Yeah, from everybody.
From everybody, I think. Any low points or dark periods you've had to deal with, and how'd you get through them?
You know, it just reminds me, I don't know if you know the songwriter Jimmy Webb.
Yes.
Jimmy, you know, wrote MacArthur Park and a bunch of the hits for Glenn Campbell, and you know, he's just such an amazing songwriter. And I was sitting having a margarita with him one night, and he said something that's, you know, he's a songwriter, so he says profound things just in normal speech. But he was like, look, if you haven't been down in this business, you haven't been in this business long. And I found that profound. And he's right. And some of the most amazing talents and the most, incredible musicians and writers and everything, they have their ups and they have their downs. It's never this, you know, it's always a roller coaster. And I think that's just part of being in anything creative, you know? So I've gotten better at it, you know, as time's gone on, you know that, okay, well, January is going to suck, or, you know, this isn't going to be great. And you can never kind of brace yourself for something like we're going through with COVID-19 and having all live music come to a screeching halt for what's probably going to be a year or more. Yeah. That I've grappled with, and that's been tough at times. I'm a pretty optimistic person, and I'm pretty happy-go-lucky. But boy, there have been points that I'm just like staring at the wall going, what is going on? Music is it's so social for me. Not only with my band, we're a family. You know, I've been with these guys for so long. They're part of me. They're my brothers. But even the audience, I've just realized how much I've missed that. I've missed that connection with people. So, you know, we've made up for it doing our Facebook Lives every Tuesday night. I go on and just play. It's me in my living room. It was me at my fire pit right here, last night. But I crave that. And I'm not doing it for them as much as I'm doing it for me too, you know, because I just need that, you know, happiness and that connection that I'm so used to. So yeah, the ups and downs are rough. I guess we just all have to kind of pivot and find our way for what keeps us happy and what keeps us inspired.
Yeah. Thank you. I wanted to ask you this question. Do saxophone players have the same thing like guitar players with gear acquisition? Like, are
No,
you like
you guys are
obsessed with
nuts.
I gotta have a new mouthpiece this month. I'm dying to get that new reed from France. Like, is that the thing for sax players?
I think some sax players are that way, and they have to, have every mouthpiece and try every reed and try the new horns and everything. For me, I play Yamaha saxophones, and I spent 8 hours in a room, trying to figure out if my old vintage Selmer Mark VI was, half of what this new Yamaha, could be. And I struggled with that, but I've now played the same horn for years and years and years and years and never looked back.
Right.
I created the mouthpiece that I play on with a guy named Theo Wani.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
It's really life-changing. And
It's like
I
a
don't need to
custom
play
mouthpiece.
Yeah,
Wow,
that we made available to the public.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I played on it for a year, and we had done it together, and just created this, what we called the mouthpiece for the people that was easy to play, and it was, it was resonant and it could rock. For me, I'm playing next to guitar players like you guys, and you can't stand next to Joe Perry and have a wimpy sound. You gotta stand next to Joe Perry and bring it.
Yeah.
So I needed a mouthpiece that could do that but still have nuance. So for me, it was about finding those pieces and creating those pieces and staying with them. Whereas the guitar players I know.
Yeah, new pedal, whatever.
Peterik, he's got hundreds of guitars hanging around his house and studio, and it's crazy the sickness that you guys have. I love you for it, but I have about as many saxophones as I need.
Do you prefer playing like alto over tenor, or what is your?
No,
I'm sure it changes with the mood.
Yeah, I mean, for Aerosmith, I played tenor.
Right.
And for Springsteen, I played tenor. But for me in my career, I've played mostly alto and quite a bit of soprano over the years, just not in recent years. It's been a little tough to travel with a couple saxophones because they'll beat you down on the airplanes. Hello, helicopter.
What's going on up there, man?
I know, it's it's crazy out here. But yeah, I mostly alto because I can feel with alto that I grew up playing it, and I can make it sound like a tenor if I need to. I can growl on it, I can rock on it, but it can also be really beautiful and nuancey, and it can be like a voice. So I feel like I can get the most out of the alto, and that's what I lean on.
Anyone you have not played with yet that you want to? Let's put it out to the universe, man. You never know.
Rolling Stones. If you're out there listening, I would love to be your sax player.
There you go.
When Bobby Keys passed away, I was just like, wait, Bobby Keys isn't here? This is just, we've lost so many great sax players, and it's just so devastating. When Clarence Clemons passed away, he was that guy that you just thought could never pass away. He was just bigger than life, But when the chance to play with Springsteen came up for one night, I was just, I was thinking to myself, this wasn't even something I dreamed about. Like, I didn't dream that you could play in Springsteen's band. That's the big man's job. But I really, sometimes you can't even dream about it. But yeah, if I dreamed about playing sax with someone, it would be the Stones.
The Stones.
But making music, I always wanted to do something with Bowie because he was a sax player, and I just thought that would have been incredible. He's obviously not with us anymore. Maybe Bonnie Raitt. Bonnie Raitt is just one of my heroes, and I just think she's just such amazing. She's just such an amazing role model as a musician altogether, as a woman, of course. But she's incredible.
All right, Bonnie Raitt and the Stones. We'll put that out there.
Put that out there.
If that happens, I get tickets.
Okay, sure. Can we just go back to playing live in general?
Yeah, right. I feel you on that. Hey, tell me your top 3 Desert Island discs in no particular order, and like just for now, because obviously this changes.
Desert Island discs. It's...
Yeah, come on, Mrs. Curator.
I know I'm the curator of music, but that means that I'm undecided. We have a bunch of different wines, so I get to choose, cool music, just whatever. Cool Desert Island discs. Well, I'd have to have a greatest hits of the Stones.
Mm-hmm.
I would love that. And you know what? I've been listening to so much Dave Matthews over this break, as we should call it. But I love hearing Dave Matthews play, songwriting, musicianship. My friend Jeff Coffin plays in his band. Like, it's just so much fun. So can I have a Dave Matthews
box set? Gives you a Dave Matthews box set. Yeah, and a Stones box set.
Yeah. And I'll definitely take Stevie Wonder Musiquarium.
Very cool.
Yeah, I got to do that. But hopefully I don't have to go off on an island somewhere alone and choose, because I like my Spotify, and I like my getting to just choose whatever.
I know.
Miles Davis. Can I have Miles Davis kind of blue too? Oh,
yeah. It's only got 3.
Cannonball Adderley, Nancy Wilson.
Now you're having sax players. Too late. Too late.
I know. Well, yeah. It's a little everything.
Tell me what makes you happy. You're like you seem like a pretty positive person in general. I wouldn't think it takes a lot to make you happy.
Music makes me happy. I mean, I'm totally thrilled standing on stage with my band making music. I mean, we just went in to do a record, but it's fulfilling, It's just you're standing there with your friends, you're having a blast. That's the most amazing thing to me, and I'm married now, and my husband has 2 daughters that are beautiful. I didn't have kids, and it's really fun to marry into that and get to be a part of raising them, and they've lived with us for our whole existence together. So it's very cool to be able to have it all. And I would never say early on that I would say, hey, it makes me happy to have the full package, but
to have kids.
Yeah, it's been awesome to share what I do. I have a pretty big life, and it's kind of full, but to have them be a part of it and have Maddie, sit there while I'm signing autographs and dig it and have fun and, warm up with me before, it's cool. So it's cool to see them get their own lives now and be doing their own thing. But that's been awesome.
You mentioned when you have your band with you, and we talked earlier before we were on, that the Bone Shakers are not a band, your band anymore. Do you want to just talk about that? And I know there's no bad blood or anything with you guys.
Yeah. Oh, no. We've been friends for so many years. When I talked to Randy Jacobs, whose band has always been the Bone Shakers, let me go back. Randy Jacobs and I met playing in, a crazy LA rock club probably 25 years ago.
Okay.
And we were playing with Oliver Lieber in his band, Hollywood Swingin'. And so we just became friends. Like, I was just such a fan of Randy's playing, all of that. And he created the Bone Shakers, and I was always a fan of the Bone Shakers. That was born out of Bonnie Raitt's band. Bonnie named them the Bone Shakers.
Did he play with Bonnie?
Yeah.
She's had some really good guitar players. I've had a bunch of them on. Yeah.
God, amazing. So, cut to many years later, we've played together. He's been on my records. I've been on his records. I went and sat in with the Bone Shakers because his band, the Bone Shakers, was all the members of my band and him.
Okay.
And he was playing in my band. So it was basically the same band.
Okay.
It was just different material. So we were playing the same festival at one point, and I went over and just played the whole set with them. It was a blast. So I looked at him afterwards. It was just electric. I looked at him afterwards and went, maybe we make some records or go on the road as Mindi Abair and the Bone Shakers and switch this up. I had been playing with Aerosmith and, you know, Max Weinberg and doing all this rock and roll stuff. I was just like, I want to do this. This is my roots. This is how I grew up. So we did. We formed Mindi Abair and the Bone Shakers and took the best of them and the best of me, and we made 4 records together as a band, and it was amazing. I mean, the music that we made together is some of the coolest stuff I've ever done. I'm so proud of it. I want everyone in the world to hear it, and we just had a blast. So this past year, right at the beginning of the year, we decided, you know what, let's go our separate ways. I really think Randy was going to go off and do the classic Bone Shakers with Sweet Pea and, you know, just go back out and do it like it had been in the early 90s. But Sweet Pea just passed away, and I think that left us all just not knowing quite what to do. So I just made a solo record, and I'm going to go on as just Mindi Abair. But I just look back at what we did together as a band, and it's incredible. And I'm
you
so
guys
proud.
are tight. Great band.
Yeah, and we're all still friends. The whole band is with me still. Just Randy's off doing his own thing.
Right.
But we still talk all the time. We're just, you know, we'll always be best buds, and I love him like a brother.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Tell me your biggest business win and biggest personal win.
Biggest business win. Wow. I don't know. You know, it's hard to think of music as the business of it. You know, it's like I don't really gauge my career by, hey, I made a ton of money here, so that's my biggest win.
Right.
The biggest win is what inspires me. I would say my biggest win is more a big picture thing.
Yeah.
Like there was a point in my career that I just kind of felt like I was bored with myself, and I felt like I was just, you know, playing the same song, bored with who I'm becoming. I was like, I've been that. Why am I making the same record again and again? Like, I'm not growing. I'm not inspired. I'm just kind of burned out. What am I going to do? And so I think my biggest win was deciding that I was going to find myself again, that I was going to find what inspired me. And that's when I started saying yes to American Idol. I had a career. I didn't need to go on American Idol and be their sax player. Aerosmith, I was just like, yes, let me go on. This is something that seems fun. You know, I started sitting in with Waddy Wachtel's band more. I had always played with his band on and off, but I just started doing it all the time. I'm like, what would make me happy musically and personally? And so it was playing more rock, and it was playing more blues, and I immersed. And that's what brought me into all those things, playing with Springsteen, playing with Max Weinberg, playing with Aerosmith. And it allowed me to open up more as a player and as a musician. I was just stuck in this rut of, I kind of knew this, and I knew how to write songs like this, and I knew that part of me. But I grew up with rock and blues and soul and all of that, and I hadn't put that into my own world as much as I should have. And I just relied on friends like Joe Perry to come in and play, Gregg Allman to come in and play, Max Weinberg. And I'm like, help me be all of me. And so I think that was my biggest win, was making my record Wild Heart and being inspired again, that I really felt like I had kind of lost myself. And I found myself through just saying yes to things that seemed to make me happy, and saying yes to helping, you know, having other people help me, because I had kind of been this island in my own little bubble of being an artist, which is a gift, but
Right.
can be a curse. So I think that was my biggest win.
Question for you. Is it, and thank you for sharing that. That was really cool. I think it was being open like that to that was really cool. Are you someone that struggles to ask for help or to get help? Because, you know, when you typically, you know, when you're like a commanding presence in your own, what I really impressed about you is one of the things you said earlier. You said, look, I got to make this happen. You know, you can't sit here and like cry and complain. You know, it's up to me to do this, right? And
Yeah.
of course it's up to you. It's up to everybody individually. You know, there's no like fairy that comes through the freaking doors at night and says, hey, I'm appointing you, or you can do, you got to do it.
Right.
But the tough part of that is when you're like that, it's tough to ask for help. Has it been tough for you to ask for help? And then like doing this, obviously you ask for help or were open to help.
You know, I don't think I thought about it. I was just like, I was out there writing my songs, doing my thing. I really just had fun making music with friends, you know.
Yeah.
But so it wasn't like I never asked for help, you know. I would just kind of make music with the people that were around me, and it was great. And it was a lot of the same people on my first few records that, you know, were my best friends in college. It was, you know, the Adam Sandler way of working.
Yeah.
It was my family and my people around me that it was a blast. But then there came a point where I was just like, I don't know, I there's a part of me that's not being shown. And so it was more like, I think I need to reach out because I'm not coming up with this on my own. For some reason, it's not just, you know, apparent to me how to do this. So, you know, it was fun to get together with my friends who lived in this rock and blues world all the time and just say, help me find a way to put this into my career and you know, help me find this part of me. Like, you see me, I'm on the, you know, freaking stage with Aerosmith having a blast. This is me. But yet I go back into my own career and there was very little of that, you know?
Yeah.
So it was more just like, it was seeing that hole in kind of me as an artist and go, I really want to fill this gap, and how do I do it?
That's really cool that you did that, I think. Yeah. It's because you got so much growth out of that. Yeah. Yeah. You seem so much happier about it. Yeah.
It was amazing. It opened up a whole new world and I was so inspired and it was just amazing.
Favorite place you've traveled?
Boy, that's tough. Favorite place I've traveled. I keep going back to Italy. I love Italy. I love going to the UK. South Africa, I had a blast in. I thought it was just one of the most beautiful places I'd ever been. But I love going home, you know, to play for all my friends in Florida. And, you know, it's always fun to come home and just be where I grew up and play. I'm simple.
That is cool. Your family's still here?
No, actually, they're in California. So
wow.
They're close to me now, you know, but it's still, you know, Florida's home. It's fun to float around in the Gulf and, you know, try and get a tan. Doesn't really work for me, but I like trying. Obviously, the sun came out. Wow, I chose the sunny spot.
You don't have, isn't it sunny? I thought it's sunny there all the time.
It is.
Yeah, yeah. Two more questions. Toughest decision you've had to make or most difficult thing you've had to do?
Wow. I think, you know, what we talked about earlier was comes to mind when you say that the toughest decision to make. We talked about, you know, I was touring with some really big bands earlier in my career, and to say no to that touring and to kind of take that leap of faith and go, no, I'm not going to go on that world tour that I'm going to be treated like a rock star and make tons of money and, you know, get to be on stage with some of the best musicians in the world. I'm going to go probably stay in crappier hotels and try and make it on my own. It may not work, but I get to choose my own band and I get to play my music. And if someone's going to buy a ticket, it's going to have my name on it. They're going to come to see me. But that's kind of a big toss up, you know. Yeah. So to take that chance, that was like the toughest decision, to just say, no, I'm going to do that. You know, that was tough.
Very tough. Again, I commend you for doing that. It is very difficult. And last question, and thank you so much for all your time. You've been lovely to talk with.
This has been fun.
Likewise. Biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, and how much of that has been intentional and how much is just a part of aging? Not that you've aged. You still look 20 years old. But
no, that's a crazy question. You know what? I don't think I've changed that much personality-wise. I'm probably mellower. my friends that have known me a long time say I'm a little mellower, that I was definitely, you know, when I first started out, just, I was so driven and so, you know, like, we're going to go do this and we're going to go play this gig and then we're going to go sit in at this other club afterwards and, you know, we're going to go record in the studio after that. And, you know, it was just nonstop and,
Right.
You know, unsustainable. But, you know, now that I've got my career, I got what I wanted, that it's okay to, you know, it's okay to sit back and go to the beach one day and goof off, or, you know, not have to take over the world on a daily basis. Like, sit back and have some wine, you know.
Good for you.
So I think that if that's a personality change, you know, I think that's probably the biggest change, that I don't have to take over the world every second.
Good for you. Hey, I'm going to tell people some stuff that they can do to check you out, but let's go over what we learned today. If there's something I want to do, I go for it. You were an awful waitress. You had every record label turn you down multiple times. Duran Duran was more preoccupied with what are you wearing.
God bless him, man. Absolutely. I'm for that.
Yeah, I think that's the best one. Let me tell everybody where to check out. First of all, if you're not familiar with Mindi Abair's music, please check it out. She's a extremely talented sax player and singer, and she's a great songwriter. Best place to do that.
Thank you for saying that. I'm your first sax player on this, right?
You are. You are my first sax player, for sure, man. And you were very gentle with me, so thank you.
I do what I can.
You were great. Her website is Mindi Abair. It's Mindi Abair, ABAIR.com. If you're going to buy her records, I would encourage you to purchase it from there. That's the best way to support Mindi in her music there, not by going to Spotify or whatever. If you're going to stream wherever you want to do it. If follow her on social media at Mindi Abair on Instagram and Facebook. And if you want to check out her book, which sounds like if you're at any level of performer and if you want to get better at presence and stage and how to do your thing and most important, connect with people, check out her book, How to Play Madison Square Garden, A Guide to Stage Performance. It's on Amazon. And reserve tastings, man. If you're into wine and you want quarterly bottles of wine sent to you that's private label wine that Mindi and her husband have, and song curation by Mindi herself. How tempting is it to like stick your own songs in like every month? Do you do that?
Every wine I put one of my songs in. So, I mean, one of, you know, probably 45 songs.
No, that's you have to. So, you have to. I mean, you can't not put. Yeah. Come on. That's totally cool. I would, if you said I never put my songs, you'd be like, what's wrong with you? Psh, psh. Yeah.
No.
So reservetastings.com. If you like wine, that sounds like a lot of fun, a cool thing to do. And if you are down in Florida in November, check out, I'm sorry, I have so many notes here. I can't, what is the name of
it? No, it's Mindi Abair's Punta Gorda Wine and Music Festival.
Mindi Abair's Punta Gorda Wine and Music Festival. Just go to MindiAbair.com and you'll find it there. Now, I will tell you this. I listened to your last record, and I listened to, where is it? The East West Sessions. Great record. I mean, just really cool.
Yeah.
It's a really cool record.
Randy Jacobs is a force of nature on guitar. He's just...
He is a force of nature on guitar. He really is. But the two of you guys together are really good. It's a tight band, man. You guys did great work together, you know, and I know you got a lot.
The whole band, yeah. Everyone is a monster of a musician, a cool human being, and I think you feel the friendships and the connection through the music.
Definitely.
That is it. We are a family.
And is there any chance you will run for president? Because I think that's like you got nothing else left here. I mean, you've knocked down all the freaking targets.
You know what? My new personality says I'm just going to chill at my fire pit today. And yeah.
Right on. Good for you. And
let someone else take over the world.
Enjoy that. Hey, thank you for your time. Thanks so much. I'll wrap up with you in a minute. Let me say anything else that you want to promote or talk about that we forgot?
Oh my God, you like brought up every aspect of my life, you know, besides like what my first pet was. or if I like crunchy or smooth peanut butter. I think we're good.
I gotta
You're
save those
amazing.
questions.
So thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for everything. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it on your social media channels. Please check out Mindi Abair's music. She is a very talented artist, a great sax player, and she's got an amazing voice. I will tell you that for sure. And please do that at mindyabair.com and follow her on socials, Instagram and Facebook. It's just at Mindi Abair. Most important, especially nowadays, man, remember that happiness is a choice. So choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar or your saxophone and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. Mindi, thank you so much for everything.
Thank you.